So this is problematic from the get-go, the way that this is being framed as a conversation. It's not a conversation. It's a threat, and it's a threat that should be taken seriously and should be reacted to um, uh, in a way in which I think all colleges and universities, who this is meant to actually be applied later to all universities and colleges, not just to the 9 or 10 that have received the letter. So that means that we should all be thinking about how to resist this particular form of intrusion. We have always played a role in doing even-handed uh, research in which critique of institutions is not off the table. And I think the Trump administration is fearful that universities play this role, and he wants to shut down the ability of universities financially, legally, from a free speech and First Amendment point of view, to engage in their role in a system of societal checks and balances. And this is not a matter of national security. Students internationally come to the United States. They learn content and values of American democracy and go back to their countries, their home countries, and spread those values and that content knowledge. So it's a good thing globally to have international students here. One thing you also don't see is viewpoint neutrality. You know, in the text and discourse of this compact statement, it's not clear if the views of pro-Palestinian students and faculty are going to be welcomed in a value neutral, viewpoint neutral environment. It doesn't seem like that. It seems like it's basically reflecting ideas of Islamophobia and saying certain students and certain groups can speak out freely and protest, but others cannot. It seems like the Trump administration is trying to federalize universities for control, just like they have done with the National Guard in different states and cities of the country. Another big problem with this compact, if it was taken seriously, is that it would lead to a permanent investigation of universities. It's couched in terms of annual reporting, uh, studies, accountability, oversight, and those kinds of things, which essentially puts the universities under a permanent settlement agreement with the government without the ability to litigate the ways that it violates First Amendment rights and it violates faculty speech and most specifically academic freedom. The University of Virginia is a state institution under, as I mentioned, under the authority of the state legislature and not the Trump administration. We would love to see, tuition frozen if our state government, state legislature would increase funding for public education. I don't think that's a problem as long as the state government and legislature is willing to support higher education.
I think that's a determination for our policy team to make. But this letter went out to multiple universities, as you know, and it's really a sign of encouragement for them to work alongside the administration to do what's right for their students in terms of ensuring free speech, in terms of preventing some of the anti-Semitic and illegal behavior that we saw ravaging our college campuses last year.
It's a parody microphone. Why would they say Jesus? I never told anyone. Impossible, I know. Yesterday? Yeah, I know.
So I definitely think that Penn shouldn't accept this kind of offer. And I say this because I think it's considering diversity here at Penn and just like the various ideas that are present, I think it would kind of be too polarizing. Like it would, like the decision would, I feel, kind of strip away some of that diversity that is here at Penn. And so I definitely think that, and in addition to like funding, UPenn doesn't need it. We have a lot of alumni networks, and I feel like if there was a case, like the alumni would just help more, and like we don't really need that support as in a comparison to other schools that may need more of that funding. So yeah, that's my opinion.
I think I look at this in two different lenses. I think one of them is the political science lens of, do we want officials, elected or not, to be saying how experts on the situation, like experts in the world, in a place of academia, to what extent do we want electeds telling experts to do? I think there's that piece. And honestly, I think there are some places where a very much like a prescribed curriculum can be super valuable, but I don't think higher education is one of them. I think the other piece is that the statements say a lot about these radical left values, these like Marxist values. And I mean, you look at Penn and you see that 50% of people are going into either international banking or financial consulting. My professors must be pretty bad Marxists if 50% of students are going into the banking sector. I think it's ridiculous. I don't think it's something that Penn should sign at all. I recognize the need for federal funding, but I think about, the words that are written on my shirt. Penn's motto is "Laws without morals are useless." And this would be a moment where we ask what's more important, the money or the morals. And I implore Penn to take the moral side, but we'll see. I'm scared, but at the end of the day, like I'm here to learn and develop and grow as a person and leave my mark on the world. I think for me, no matter what happens at the federal level, I have confidence that somehow in the end of the world, it'll be okay, or at least I will have fun in this time that I'm here. So I'm not I'm not like in my room screaming about it all day, but I do think that, at the end of the day, I do have a responsibility and a role to play in sharing my stories and my thoughts. But yeah, I think it's ridiculous to say that Penn has crazy radical left views if half of Penn is going into financial services. I mean, the president himself has gone to Wharton and knows the process, and I would not consider it very radical left in there.
I feel that something that is education based, it should be supported and not forced into anything that it is not structurally meant to do. There's a reason that those kind of laws were made and those motions were made to support students for education. And I think that the message is getting lost in the action, and we just need to back off and maybe mind our business a little bit and let the institution do what it was meant to do and support the students.
I feel like this is kind of sort of an attack on me, who I am, a lot of my family, and a lot of my friends here at Penn and, throughout my life. And also, I guess I can kind of see where they're coming from, but to me it's coming from a very privileged standpoint of this doesn't directly impact me, this doesn't directly benefit me, so here's why we're going to cut it and do other things and move a certain direction, where I believe America is founded based off diversity, based off equity, and the inclusion of all of that into our modern society, which manifests in many, many ways that we see today. And furthermore, I just think, the connotation of DEI can sometimes aggressively take on just race, and it becomes like this racial divide, which we've seen through years in America. And it actually is much, much more than that. Like it can span to things like getting extra testing for students with ADHD or ADD who take medication or anything like that. Like it's much more broad than just race, which is like kind of how the media likes to portray things nowadays.
was trying not to be in the way.
I think it's honestly really sad because I feel like international students make up a good portion of our population here, and they make up what our university is. And I do have a lot of friends who are international students, and they're like some of the smartest, like coolest people I know.
And I have a ton of friends who are international students. And I really fear that this ruling will hurt their ability to stay at the school. It'll hurt their ability to get the same opportunities as domestic students when they're suddenly forced into being othered, into being second-class students at the school, all because of this memo. Yeah, it's just a dumpster fire, frankly, from my opinion. Sorry to be frank. And yeah, I really hope he's able to reconsider. I hope he sees the economic impact it has in these universities and the impact it starts to have on American culture and on American opportunity in industries that rely heavily on foreign immigrants like tech, and starts to reconsider that maybe this might not have been the best idea.
I think that the cap should be set based on, like I said, individual universities. I don't think it should be an overall stated bias, but I think it should be, especially since we're a private school, privately funded, I think it should be up to the university overall.
I do think treating international students in a way different than you treat domestic students in respect to their role in last year's protests and in respecting their privacy is not something that's okay and not something this nation, this administration should be doing.
Yeah, no, it's messed up. I think it's a lot of, it's like an overreach of presidential power, in my opinion. You're just kind of being a bully to schools and saying, I won't give you what you want, what you need, unless you bend your knee.
It's a coercion tactic without approval of the House or the Senate. I think it's bypassing the system of checks and balances that has kept the president from assuming dictatorial power, from assuming too much executive power for generations.
Freedom of assembly, you should be able to just protest, you should be able to speak your mind and not fear that your name goes on some list in the government, because who knows what anybody will do with that kind of information, especially it could be used to hurt you in the future. I don't know what will happen to that information, but I think, yeah, people should be not feel as if their protest gets them on some sort of, blacklist or something. I think that just discourages protests, and I think that hurts freedom of speech, freedom of assembly.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.